Life throws all of us a curveball. The previous segment, they were talking about planning, and we all plan, but then there comes a time where perhaps a loved one dies or a loved one needs care, or you wind up getting divorced, and that can really throw a wrench in a lot of people's finances. I've got a couple of questions from some of our viewers. Michelle D talks about the issue of caregiving. She says she and her mother are looking into long-term care because their father has early onset dementia. And so she wants to know about the best way to prepare for that. And as we all know, that can be one of the most emotionally and financially draining issues people contend with.
Yes, Bertha. I, as a Gen Xer, definitely see a lot of families talking about how to take care of the aging generation ahead of them while being mindful of taking care of their own potential long-term care cost. That would be getting the insurance, at that middle age income level. And the recommendation is really to, one, see what resources are available. In the situation that you shared, there's already a parent that has dementia, meaning he needs long-term care assistance, and that has a cost associated with it. The next question is, what resources, after it's been accounted for the parents, will that adult child have to contribute to her parents' household needs as well, too? Oftentimes, we are very afraid of the numbers. We are afraid of asking the question in fear that we may not be able to come up with the money necessary to cover these costs. I encourage all to look at policies, whether it is a straight long-term care policy or if it's some type of hybrid that has a death benefit to it, just as a starting point to see if long-term care insurance is feasible.
One of the things I found was when I switched jobs, I had heard about long-term care. And so when I came to CNBC 22 years ago, that was one of the first things that I started paying for. It's a long time, but, hopefully in the future, it pays off because those costs are really high. Another issue for a lot of people is, they say I do, they think they'll be together forever, but it doesn't always work out. Xenia talks about how can a woman who's getting divorced be able to effectively save for retirement, especially for women who may have been at home and not working the whole time.
The important aspect is really getting a handle on your lifestyle without any judgment. Thinking about how much does it take to run your household currently as a couple, and what does it look like to separate those costs? Some of the biggest costs associated with the lifestyle plan is housing, and then food and transportation. And with some of those costs being shared, you have to really decide how you're going to make a decision with adjusting to a new lifestyle. And that is a mental exercise that really helps when you have people that you can talk through it with, because it's very jarring to be accustomed to a certain type of home, location, resources available, to realizing that, one, you have to bring more income that you may have before because you have to take care of yourself solely. Two, looking at how much you need, because as you're going through the divorce, making sure that you leave with some tangible cash. And I say tangible because a lot of women want to keep the home, and the home can be a very high expense to maintain. So as a woman is deciding, in this case, we're knowing that, there could be other partners looking to answer this question, but specifically since it was addressed to women, particularly those who may have been the lower earner because they stayed at home, be very specific about how you want to live, how much will it cost, where do you want to be, what resources are going to be available to you, and oftentimes having more cash available, even if it's as a part of the retirement, because that's going to be important as well, too, to make sure that you have those funds
Lazetta,
as a part of the divorce and as a foundation.
On that point, for older women, one of the things they should consider is Social Security, right? If they have been in a partnership for a long time, they are entitled to that larger amount.
So there are some nuances here. You have to be married for 10 years. So making the assumption that you've reached the 10-year hurdle. And then the next hurdle is also age. So you have to be married for 10 years. And then for the spousal support, you have to be at age 60. I really encourage women to work with the Social Security Administration, starting first with having your online profile, making sure that you are aware of your options based on your own record, and then being in touch with the office if you are not clear on what the numbers look like on the report, so that that's the baseline for you in terms of knowing how much you're going to earn from that Social Security source. Obviously, it's not going to be enough typically to support your lifestyle, yet it is a very important resource available to you.
That's good advice for all of us as we look towards that age. We also have a question here from another young woman, Vicky, who talks about wanting to change careers, except the new career, she's going to earn less. What are some strategies to do when maybe your choice isn't making you happy, but it does make you more money?
I'm back to the concept of what I call real wealth, where you're aligning your mission, mind, and money. If you are thinking about this career change because your mission in terms of your goals and values have shifted, then you also have to be very honest with yourself about what you think about money and its support of how you want to live now and in the future, and what legacy you want to leave. So what trade-offs are you willing to make if you're making this shift in the reduced income? Have you gotten to the numbers that you feel comfortable with your retirement, with your savings and the like? And if the answer is no, then you may have to think about when you're going to retire. That might have to be delayed. Where you're going to live. You might need to shift to a lower cost of living place. You might need to cut out some of those vacations, because if your job brings you that much joy and value at a less pay, then be very clear to yourself about what trade-offs you're making.
And finally, you had talked about legacy. For people who inherit from their parents, now there's just a 10-year window. If you're inheriting a 401k, for example, what are some of the strategies people should take, especially if they don't necessarily need the money right away?
That's a great position to be in if you don't need the money right away. If you do have children, you might want to think ahead and have those parents fund that 529 or some other resources that help propel the next generation. That is quite a fortunate situation where wealth is transferring beyond just generation 1, 2, and hopefully to 3 and beyond as well. So as you're working with your parents about their vision for their legacy, be sure that you are both clear in terms of these generations, so that there is no animosity among the different generations about how wealth is being transferred and used. The extra windfall will also give you opportunities to may explore different career choices, more flexibility. I mean, cash is king. Generational wealth is a wonderful situation to be in.
And we have another audience question coming in saying, how do you manage to keep growth in your account to really try to plan for inflation some 50 to 20 years away? It's been some 20 years that we haven't thought about inflation, but now it's front and center for a lot of folks.
Yeah, so, historically, we've seen the market do an upward trend, and I guess you're also saying inflation has also had an upward trend as well, too. And the key in marrying the two is what degree of risk are you willing to take to be able to keep up with inflation, and what risks or adjustments are you willing to make in your current lifestyle? I mean, it's tough when you see milk and just basic necessities when you go to the grocery store and you only get one bag and it's costing you, $100 or $200. You're like, what did I just buy and how long will it last me? That's a really practical aspect of saying, costs are rising, and the basic necessities are just that. And so sometimes maybe you have to look at refinancing your home so your mortgage payment is less when rates go back down, so that way that'll give you more cash flow available to take care of the basic necessities in today's current environment. As you look towards the future, I'm back to the lifestyle as well too. The lower you keep your costs in the big ticket items, the more flexibility you'll have with the, I won't say smaller ticket items, but the discretionary items that make life more enjoyable.